to have private information about the dangers of the products you sell.
Your hugely popular products that everybody relies on and everybody uses.
And just be so willing to sell those products under the guise of protecting privacy and benevolence and goodwill and a societal benefit, when in fact you privately know that, you know, it's all a lie, and that you're just commodifying people and their privacy, and you're turning that into and that's the product that you're slinging, really, and you're doing it with such, I don't know. It bothers me. I stop myself from going further. Welcome to the Represent More podcast. I am your host, Ryan Clarkson.
And I'm your co-host, Shireen Clarkson.
All right, we've got a lot to get to today, Shireen. A lot happening in the world, and a lot happening with our work as well.
Yep.
Yeah. But before we get into that, we had a nice weekend.
We did have a nice weekend. Yeah. We got out of town. We went to Mexico, where the cartels are abound.
Yeah, well, we didn't see any of that, though.
No, thank God.
Not at all.
Yeah, we went to Cabo for a friend's 50th. Ryan and I got a chance to get away. That was good. I was a little hesitant about the cartel situation, but Cabo is, the coast is clear, literally, over there.
Yeah, it was peaceful and wonderful.
Yeah. I think the activity has died down, actually, in Mexico, from what I understand. I've been monitoring because of our trip.
You're talking about the
head of the cartel was killed. The one that runs the area near Puerto Vallarta, I think it's like Jalisco State in Mexico. And there was some, after the head of the cartel got killed, there was some activity in Mexico. The cartel was sort of retaliating. Mm-hmm. And there was concern that tourists were going to be targeted or harassed. But we were fine.
canceled their trip.
Yeah.
Didn't show.
And I mean, you know me, I'm a cautious one. So I was sort of considering that, but
yeah,
we decided to go and we're back safe and sound.
So there's almost no reason to go anywhere else other than Cabo San Lucas if you live in LA and need to get away for a weekend. Right?
And that's what most of LA does, because everybody there is from LA.
Yeah.
Everyone you meet is like visiting from LA.
Man, the food is so good.
It's a good spot.
So this party was at the Four Seasons in Cabo, and the service was just incredible. The food off the charts. And then we had little excursions into town, to certain restaurants. Mm-hmm. What was the name of the restaurant we went to night 2?
Acre. Also known as Acre by the Americans.
Right.
But it's Acre.
Yeah, spelled like acre.
Yeah.
And it was a big place. I mean, it was at least 2 acres worth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Warming up here a little bit. So yeah, it was good. It was like a 45-minute drive from the hotel, and we had a couple of Sprinter vans, and we're going, through dirt roads, and it was a bit treacherous at times, it felt, right? Mm-hmm. And then out of, the middle of nowhere, there's this beautiful oasis with the music bumping and the restaurants and the whole thing. I mean, Acre was off the hook. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Food was delish.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a great weekend.
Yeah.
It was a nice getaway.
RK50.
That's right.
Yeah.
Not naming names, but yeah.
That was the theme of the weekend, RK50. So, and then I had my annual guys trip, skiing in Park City was the same weekend, which started Thursday. So I wasn't able to make most of that, but I did happen to get out there for, in and out, same day in and out, just to ski with the boys for a few hours.
Right.
That was fun.
You couldn't miss out on the guys trip. You had to make it over there.
These are guys.
Ryan has FOMO for all things.
Well, I highly recommend this to any men and women out there listening to maintain your friendships with your friends, your college friends, your high school friends, through your adulthood. It's so important, right? we need to have those outlets. We need to have those lifelong friendships. Don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. But the annual guys trip is particular to certain guys. And it's also particular to Americans. We learned when we were in Mexico, Ryan was you were talking to the
There's a French guy.
Yeah, French guy. And you're like, yeah, I made it to the guys trip before I came to Mexico on this trip. He's like, wow. You're like, well, you don't do guys trips with your friends? He's like, it's not a French thing. We don't do guys trips. That's like
I don't know. It's an
American thing.
I just don't think that that's true. I'm sure that there are French groups of guys meeting and maintaining friendships over the years, and same in, throughout the world. It's not just an American thing.
It's definitely a Ryan thing.
It's important. I mean, you have girls trips, right?
Yeah.
You and your sister and sometimes your friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just not this like highly committed, like must do every, twice a year kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good outlet. It's good important.
For you.
Yeah.
It's good. You're allowed.
Thank you for your support.
You're allowed.
Okay. Appreciate it. Hall pass.
Mm-hmm. I'm not saying anything about a hall pass, but yeah.
For the trip.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Not in the movie
way.
Okay. Okay. What else? So that was the weekend, and I think we should just jump right into it. We had a lot happen over the last week.
Yeah, with work. So before all the trips we took over the 2-day weekend, our firm had 2 big appellate hearings, and our appellate department, led by Glenn Danis and our counsel Kristen Chapman and Brett Robinson. They all had a big week. So we're going to talk about those appeals and how those hearings went, because they were, I think that'll be interesting. So should we get...
We filed a big case last week.
We filed a big case.
We filed a big case last week against Meta. Many of you have probably read this in the news, but there were 2 Swedish magazines that did some investigative reporting, and they interviewed some subcontractors from the subcontractor called Sama, which does data analysis and data tagging. It's the new kind of AI economy, where in order to try to improve AI chatbots and other tools, in this case, the Meta AI glasses, you've got hourly subcontractors working in faraway lands that are being paid, very low wages in order to do this data analysis. And so what they uncovered from, I think, very courageous workers from the subcontractor of Meta halfway around the world, who came forward and, with their kind of identity protected, because they're all signatories apparently to confidentiality and provisions and NDAs, that Meta strictly imposes on all of their employees and all of their subcontractors. They nevertheless came forward because of some really alarming things that they were witnessing. And specifically, the big new tech product brought by Meta are their Meta AI glasses. And basically, these are like sunglasses that have cameras on them and a microphone and a speaker, and they allow for seamless interaction with the world around the wearer of these glasses, to ask questions to essentially an AI chatbot that is living within these glasses. And the camera captures the world around the user. And that footage is then sent, apparently, according to these workers, to be reviewed and tagged in order to help improve the AI. But the problem is that Meta built its advertising campaign for this new tech product around privacy. And lo and behold, all this footage, this private footage from people's homes, from people's bathrooms, from people's dressing rooms, etc., are being broadcast to humans on the other side of the world, who are then viewing this in real time. And they were very unnerved by what it was that they were seeing. And so we brought a false advertising case, against Meta in the Northern District of California, based on their privacy promises and their breach of those privacy promises. So anyway, it was made a big splash last week. A lot of tech journals and publications covered it.
Mm-hmm.
The UK's data enforcer, the ICO, and I think it's the Information Commissioner's Office. They are opening an investigation into this because they're very concerned about the potential privacy violations here. And so we'll see what comes of it. It's going to be interesting to see how it all unfolds in the coming weeks and months.
Yeah. So it's but our case that we filed is not a based on privacy violations. It is a consumer protection issue related to privacy, invasion of privacy. Is that how you would say?
Yeah, I mean, that's how we fashioned our complaint. And there's a lot of strategy that goes into how one fashions a case theory, allegations, claims, where to file. All of this has to be considered to try to figure out the best way to hold the wrongdoer accountable, and to try to maximize the chances for success on behalf of the class and your clients. So we went with what we think is a fairly clean false advertising theory, but there are privacy implications as well. There's all kinds of other claims that one could potentially bring here that overlaps with these issues. California Information Privacy Act violations, for example, and other privacy-related statutes. So, but it's a separate but related theory, I would say.
Yeah. But here, I mean, I think it's obvious that consumers who buy these glasses would not expect that what they're seeing through the camera and what's being recorded is then being used to train the AI and is being seen by a bunch of people in a factory in Kenya,
right?
Or by anyone for that matter, right? So I don't think consumers would ever expect that they're going to buy these glasses and that would be occurring, especially when Meta markets these glasses as with your privacy in mind, right? That these are designed for privacy. People are not expecting that they, need to be aware of what they're looking at because lo and behold, someone else is going to see it too, right? And is going to train on it. I mean, I think that's a big deal. I think people are going to be alarmed when they learn of this, because I don't think anybody knows. Aside from that article that came out, and now our lawsuit, which is going to inform people of this issue.
There's a lot of public education and awareness surrounding just the existence of this data privacy situation.
Yeah, because
right?
Now you got to be careful as a user of the glasses. Seems like you'd have to be careful of what you're looking at and what your glasses are recording and sending to Kenya and it being saved in the cloud, and who knows who's going to get a hold of this, right?
Exactly.
And as a person out there in the world who's not using the glasses, you don't know who's wearing the glasses, right? Because these look like really nice Ray-Bans. They don't look like a gadget on your face.
Exactly.
Right? These AI glasses look like nice Ray-Bans. And so you don't know who's wearing them and who might be looking at you, now, through those glasses.
When they're recording, they have a flashing light that is kind of blinks or flashes, right?
Is it?
But it's not always
noticeable.
It's not always noticeable. It's not easily. It's not readily apparent.
And no one's looking for that light.
And some people who have no idea that this product even exists wouldn't even, it might not even register.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
So where this comes into play is, it's interesting. Meta had some spokespeople talk to the press. They were asked questions, and some of what Meta stated is, well, it's stated in the fine print, okay, that this can be reviewed by humans if you decide to upload it to the cloud. The problem with that is that people don't realize, deciding to upload it to the cloud means you're simply asking the chatbot, the AI feature, about something that you're seeing through the glasses, right? That's what Meta considers deciding to upload it to the cloud, just using the product as it's intended, right?
Right.
Otherwise, they say it stays on device. But if you're using the AI feature, and that's what people are buying this for, to interact with the AI feature, then you are supposedly, opting in.
Is there a way to affirmatively opt out? Do we know?
I don't know I don't know. I think the answer to that is one cannot opt out of that, of the data sharing if they're using the AI feature. And that's really the only reason anybody would buy these. And people aren't buying Meta Ray-Bans at, triple the cost of a normal set of Ray-Bans if they're not going to use that feature.
Correct. You just go buy a Ray-Ban that doesn't have a blue light on it.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. So it'll be interesting. And as to this whole, it's in the fine print issue, I was doing a little research into this, and the terms and conditions, the terms of service, the supplemental terms of service, the privacy policy, it's something like 24,000 words. Someone of average intelligence and average reading speed would take 2 hours to read all of that. And who knows if you even understand it after you read, because it's all legalese, it's all legal jargon, it's contract language, right? So it's not like reading, a novel or reading a newspaper or something like that. I mean, this is dense material that nobody
your average
reads.
Consumer is not reading this stuff. We talked about this last time. Like even lawyers are not reading every single word of a, terms of service.
All the terms of service that I had saved up for beach reading, I couldn't even get through in my 2-day vacation.
Yeah, I know. You were deep into it, though.
I was deep into it.
You tried to get through it.
Tried.
We were all at the beach and you were deep.
I was just banging through TOSs.
I know, you love that. What's going to be interesting?
What?
In this case, I want to learn who else this information is being shared with or might be shared with, because we know about the workers who came forward, but where else is it going? Ooh. I mean, I think there might be more to that story.
You want to know what's wild?
Because they're not the ones. I don't know.
Well, how about this? Mark Zuckerberg and Meta are on trial right now in connection with in Los Angeles Superior Court, right down the street. I mean, I think they're in the Santa Monica courthouse. It's 20 minutes from where we're shooting this today, right down PCH. He was in the courtroom, 2 weeks ago? And he and all of his cronies, lawyers, whatever, walked into the courthouse with these Meta glasses on, and they were all admonished by the court. Did you hear about this?
That is so obnoxious. And of course they were admonished. They had to have expected that. You can't wear sunglasses into a courtroom, let alone sunglasses that are recording what's going on in the courtroom, right? Without getting permission from the judge.
Of course.
I mean, that's ridiculous. The nerve of these guys. That's obnoxious.
And doesn't it actually add, it's more illuminating now that we know, since then, all of this has come into light, that the information that they're recording is being sent halfway around the world.
Right.
So like,
it's not
God
just,
knows who.
Right. It's not just a private.
That's right.
Private viewing of their own. Right. Why do you think they did that? Why do you think they walked into that courtroom with those glasses, knowing that they were going to? I think
they're totally out of touch. I think they're completely tone deaf. And I think that it was a publicity stunt.
Yeah, I think I think all those things, but I think that's the third point is what it was. They wanted some attention. They wanted some publicity out of that.
Yeah, they figure, hey, it's going to cost us a lot of money to get, every newspaper to cover our new technology gadget, or we can, do this kind of shocking, stunning, jaw-dropping publicity stunt, audacious and then it'll get some organic coverage. And hey, any publicity is good publicity in their mind, right?
Yeah.
Although I don't think that it's true in this case. I think that most reasonable people would find that to be, obnoxious, same way you do.
Yeah, yeah.
Obnoxious and inappropriate.
So I'm wondering, well, maybe we can talk about what we want to get out of the lawsuit, because I will say the glasses are, I think a lot of people think they're cool, because I think they are. I mean, they are, it's basically like having for those who are using AI or relying on AI for anything at all, it's nice to have it right on your face and be able to talk to it. I think a lot of people find it pretty cool. I mean, even I, who you know, is not a gadgety kind of person. I'm barely catching on to stuff. I thought it was a neat concept. I like that it's that the glasses also look good. So it's not some hunky, like gadget on your face or your wrist. But the privacy issue is, in my opinion, I wouldn't wear it for that reason. So I think it's a huge issue, but I think the product is cool. So my question to you, so for us to discuss, is what do we want out of the lawsuit? We're not trying to get rid of the product, right? Because I think it's a product people probably want. What are we trying to accomplish with the lawsuit?
I mean, listen, that's an interesting perspective. I think a lot of people agree with you, and they think that it's a cool gadget, and they want to try it out. I mean, they supposedly have sold 7 million pairs, and based on what I'm kind of getting a sense of the average retail price to be, you're talking about billions of dollars in revenues generated for this company on this brand new product alone.
Yeah,
and they've just started selling it. So I think that there's probably an appetite to find some wearable AI tech like these glasses that people think look cool and don't look like a ski goggles or something like that, like Apple Vision, for example.
Exactly.
What are we trying to get out of this? Like any false advertising case we bring, we're looking at two key objectives. The first is we're trying to stop the false advertisement. So in this case, cessation of the false privacy claims is paramount. And you can do that in different ways. You can do it by ceasing the privacy-focused advertising claim. You could do it by having clear and prominent disclosures and warnings and that sort of thing. So there are different ways to skin the cat, but that's the first thing, is a change in corporate behavior in a way that helps this class of people, other purchasers, the general public, etc.
Yep. So that consumers know that when they purchase this product, as cool as it is and as useful as some people might find it to be, that it's not private.
Right.
That should be known.
Second thing that we're trying to achieve, second objective is some form of monetary relief. So in a false advertising case, typically what we're looking for is what we call a price premium. So if people have purchased a product in reliance upon a false claim, then they've paid, at the point of purchase, they've paid an inflated price. And every purchaser has paid an inflated price. And the idea is that our clients would have either paid less or not bought it at all, right? And so the delta between what they paid and the value they actually received, that delta is called a price premium. And so, that's how one measures what's called restitution. It's the form of monetary relief in a case like this. So that'd be the second thing. And then I'll just throw in one other thing.
So in other words, the 7 million products that were sold, all those you were seeking to get all those consumers some portion of their money back because they relied on this being a private product, essentially, this being a product that wouldn't be, the information wouldn't be going elsewhere. And in fact, it is. So they deserve a little value back for that.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
There's some difference between what they paid and the value actually received. That price premium multiplied by every unit of product purchased would be the way one calculates damages.
Yeah.
And there's different ways to do that in litigation. It's pretty expert driven. There's some survey expert work that needs to be done on that to try to determine what the price premium amount is. And then you need an economist to come in and weigh in on how that should be applied across the sales, et cetera.
Yeah. So because I think some consumers, our position is that every consumer would find this important, right? Material, that this issue of privacy, the representation, but maybe different consumers value it differently. Maybe some consumers wouldn't have purchased it at all, like me. I see it that way. Like I probably won't purchase it at all if I know that the information is being routed. Some purchasers maybe would have paid less, but still want the product, right? So then our economists are going to find some way to value that, some average.
That's right. And then I'll just throw in a third thing, that the third objective in a case like this, especially where it's new and not widely known, and is consumer awareness and public education, right?
Yep.
If we can, you know, if we can bring, a lawsuit that has these dual objectives that are righteous and impactful, and it gains the attention of the public through media, etc., then that's something I think that is extremely valuable as well.
Yeah, I think so. I've spoken to numerous users and consumers of the Meta AI glasses. Not one of them knew this. Of course not. They wouldn't have known,
right,
unless they read the article or now have seen our lawsuit. So I think it's good.
Kudos to the good people at Svenska Dagbladet and Göteborgs-Posten, the two Swedish newspapers. I've been practicing those pronunciations.
Very nice pronunciation.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It really rolled off the tongue, didn't it?
It did. You're like a
Swede.
Yeah.
And and of course, a lot of other media outlets have covered our lawsuit since we filed it as well. So they're all over the issue.
The education has begun. Mm-hmm. So that's good.
That's right.
Good.
What else? Anything else on that?
Anything else you want to get off your chest about it? You were pretty pumped up last week. You were. You know
what I want? I'm curious
when you heard about this.
Mm-hmm. Do you think Mark Zuckerberg is wearing these glasses in his home, or around his kids, or around his wife, or around friends and family, in areas that he considers private and places of solitude for him and his family? Because I think I know the answer to it. Because the same was true of social media. When you used to see him post photos of his family, do you remember what he used to do as it relates to the kids?
He used to X them out, or
he used to
like cover their faces.
He used to cover their faces because he knew what none of his customers knew.
Yeah, he was among the first to do that. People do that now because we've caught on, but yeah, he was one of the first to do. Yep.
Isn't that telling?
Yep.
I think it's a sin. Not in the religious sense, but in the,
Yeah. What is just everything he does?
No, but to have private information about the dangers of the products you sell.
Your hugely popular products that everybody relies on and everybody uses.
And just be so willing to sell those products under the guise of protecting privacy and benevolence and goodwill and the societal benefit, when in fact you privately know that it's all a lie, and that you're just commodifying people and their privacy, and you're turning that into and that's the product that you're slinging, really. And you're doing it with such, I don't know. It bothers me.
Yeah.
I stop myself from going further.
Yeah.
I don't know why. It's probably be the most exciting thing people would want to see. Anyway.
Okay. Well, good job. Good job getting the case underway, and let's see what we can do.
Yeah. So we've got our partner Yana Hart is counsel Mark Richards, and we've got some associates working on the case as well. It's a really stout team we've got on this case, and I'm going to have a very strong position in the case as well.
I know you will.
Yeah, because I'm quite passionate about it.
Yeah.
So,
can we talk about our appeals?
Let's get into it.
Can we move on?
Yeah.
Okay, so we had 2 appellate hearings last week for 2 matters that our appellate department has been handling, and we just thought it'd be fun to talk about a couple of them and see how those are going. Can we talk about Brown v. Brita?
Can I share some just thoughts about
my segues?
No, I'll just share some thoughts about the Ninth Circuit
My lack
argument.
of segues? Yeah, what?
So this appellate hearing happened last Wednesday, and it was at the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. It's the federal circuit that the district courts in California, the northern, the southern, eastern, and central districts of California federal courts, they're all within the Ninth Circuit. District courts in surrounding states are all within the Ninth Circuit, and so this one took place at the Ninth Circuit Courthouse in Pasadena. And the Ninth Circuit doesn't review a ton of cases, but we happen to have two cases. Our firm had two cases in front of the same 3-judge panel last week, which I thought was really exciting.
Yeah.
It shows how much progress we've made in our appellate department. I mean, first of all, it's led by Glenn Danis. You mentioned him at the top of the hour. I think he's one of the best appellate lawyers in the country. And we've got two absolute studs in Brent Robinson and Kristen Chapman, and they were both up to bat last week. And so it started with Kristen Chapman, who handled our Pinelli versus Target appeal. And that was an appeal, I think, our co-counsel, Clarkson Law Firm, referred to us, if I'm not mistaken, and a false advertising case arising out of bed sheets of a specific thread count. And then after that, Brent Robinson stood up, and he this was an internal appeal, so one that arose from a motion to dismiss. We lost in the district court and appealed in the Ninth Circuit, and Brent argued that case. And I think they both did a fantastic job. Both were so well prepared.
Yep.
And I really enjoyed the argument.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was nice to see, though, the growth of the department on full display with two cases, not one, but two cases before the same 3-judge panel on the 9th, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they did excellent.
So Pinelli versus Target, this is the thread sheet case?
Yeah.
Thread count bed sheet case.
Yes, where Target is making representations about having a higher thread count than the sheets actually have, according to our testing and our plaintiffs.
That's right.
Not ours, but the underlying case, our appellant, I should say.
Yeah, so they advertise some higher thread count, and the idea is that reasonable consumers associate higher thread count with higher quality, higher value, higher value, and
pay more.
And people are willing to pay more for higher quality and higher value, higher thread count. And it turns out that the allegations are that the thread count, measured according to the industry standard, is actually quite less than what was advertised. And therefore, the bed sheets are not worth what consumers paid for it. And the district court dismissed the case on a motion to dismiss under Federal Rule of Civil Procedure 12b-6. And we took the appeal to the Ninth Circuit. We were hired to handle that appeal. And I thought the argument went very well. What do you think?
And that was Judge G in the lower court.
That's right.
Right.
She's an excellent judge, super smart.
She is excellent. So that was a different ruling, surprising ruling. And so what was the issue on appeal? Just whether it could be misleading to a reasonable consumer?
Well, I think the issue on appeal was whether the defendant had met the standard for dismissal under 12b-6. And then there was a second issue about amendment, whether amendment was futile, as the lower court ruled, and whether the plaintiff should have had an opportunity to try to amend their allegations to give additional details, factual allegations, etc., that would then allow the court to determine that a claim had been stated such that it should be able to move to the discovery, class certification, ultimately the merit stages.
Okay. Okay, so the court wasn't really ruling on plausibility. The court was ruling on whether the plaintiffs had alleged enough, right? Because there was a lot of arguing about how much information how much information was in the complaint regarding the testing that was done on the sheets.
I think it was plausibility. I think that was anchored in plausibility. The two concepts are related.
Yeah.
The federal pleading standard is higher than the state pleading standard. California state cases, you just need notice pleadings, right? In federal court, you've got this heightened pleading standard. And there are cases like Iqbal and Twombly that talk about plausible allegations. And because it's a false advertising case and it sounds in fraud, there's not only the Rule 8 standard, but there's the Rule 9b heightened kind of pleading with particularity standard. And but it is all grounded in plausibility. I think that's what the court was trying to wrestle with. Is there enough detail in this complaint to reach the level of plausibility such that I can let this case through? What's so interesting is that most people, I think, that aren't lawyers and, maybe aren't really in tune with these issues, don't realize how much work is involved in navigating the pleading and other landmines inherent in a class action or just any lawsuit, right? There's a lot to do beyond just filing a lawsuit. I think there might be, I don't know, I get the sense that there is a perception within the public domain that a lot of lawsuits are allowed to go through that are just frivolous. But there are so many circumstances in which courts, and I think rightfully so, get rid of cases that they deem to be frivolous. But you got to get through Iqbal and Twombly. You got to get through Rule 9b pleading. You've got to plead all the allegations with the requisite particularity. And, there are certain standards, important standards that federal judges police very closely. And if the cases don't have the goods, they don't have a chance. They are kicked out.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Yeah, yeah. And it was sort of amusing to listen to this panel going through because there was 3 false advertising cases that was on the docket that morning. Two of ours, right? And then there was one additional one. And it was interesting to hear the panel interact with the appellate attorneys, and they were talking about almost as though they were looking at it through the eyes of the consumer. And one of the judges was saying, well, I certainly think there's a difference between thread count. And I certainly assume that when I'm buying, sheets, or when I'm buying a pitcher of water, we'll get into the Brita case. I look at it this way. So when they're thinking about the reasonable consumer standard and all the different things we have to plead, as you're talking about, judges are human, right? They're looking at it through the lens of plaintiffs and the reasonable consumers. And so it was interesting to hear them interact on those issues. And
the panel had very favorable, I think, questions and comments. I got the sense that we're positioned well for the ruling.
Yeah. I think so.
Yeah.
I think
this Pinelli versus Target case, and I think the case was pleaded very well. I think that there's robust factual allegations to support the claims. I mean, the lawyers who handled the district court, trial court level case had testing done, thread count testing done to support their allegations. This just wasn't something that was plucked out of thin air. They did the testing to determine whether, in fact, the thread count claim on the product was true or not. And their testing confirmed that it wasn't. That was all part of the record and considered. I mean, we're getting into granular level detail about how thread count is actually counted, how it's measured. I mean, it was fascinating. I didn't know some of the technical aspects of thread count. Did you?
No, I didn't. No, I didn't. And
not something you follow? You're not dialed into that?
The defendant was defending the district court order by saying that there wasn't enough notice given about, not enough allegations that would provide notice to the defendant about the testing, even though the testing was alleged, both the results and the type of testing that was used. But the defendant and appellee was saying, but we didn't know the name of the lab. We didn't know the exact methodology. And our side, Kristen Chapman, did an excellent job, I thought, at saying, no, we alleged exactly what you needed to know, which is the type of testing we did and the results. That's all that's required. Anyway, so it was. I thought she did an excellent job. I think the allegations of the complaint that we were arguing about are very well pled. So I think we have a good chance on that one.
I mean, really, what you have to explain in your complaint in order to withstand scrutiny is the who, what, when, where, and why of the lawsuit. And if you do that, with sufficient factual detail, then you can get through. So, fingers crossed on that one. I think I think we're going to get a favorable result. And it's not easy to obtain a reversal, right? But judges are human, and sometimes judges get it wrong, and other judges see it a different way. So that panel, I think, was really... I
thought we had a good panel.
They asked great questions. It was, I think it was Judge Wardlow, Judge D'Alba, and Judge Desai, and they all asked really good, pointed questions to drive the conversation forward. So it was enjoyable to watch that.
Yep.
And then there was the Brita case.
That was our firm. Our firm brought the underlying case against Brita on behalf of consumers, Mr. Brown and other consumers who've purchased Brita water pitchers that are advertised to eliminate harmful contaminants from your tap water. And the Judge G, again, I believe there's 2 Judge G orders.
Stop piling on Judge G. She's a great judge.
Oh, we love her. No, this was truly surprising. I was very surprised that we had this. I love Judge G. But these orders were a little off in our view. So anyway.
Anytime we lose, it feels like they were off.
Well, of course. Otherwise, we wouldn't appeal.
Yeah.
So the order basically held that. Well, let's talk about the advertising. The advertising on these Brita water pitchers are that these water pitchers reduce or remove 30 contaminants from your tap water, and then they name a bunch of them, and then they say "and more."
I think it expressly says reduce, not remove, right?
Reduce. Isn't that what I said?
You said reduce or remove.
Oh, because that's how I interpret the advertising.
There you go.
Okay, but the exact advertising is reduces 30 plus contaminants, including, and then it names a bunch of them: lead, arsenic, whatever, and then and more. And our position is that consumers see that and they think that they're buying a water pitcher that effectively reduces or removes all the harmful contaminants, right? In some meaningful way. Otherwise, you're not going to buy the product. But in fact, they don't remove some of the most harmful contaminants from our water. And that's what the case is about. They don't remove microplastics. They don't remove PFAS. They don't remove just a lot of the bad chemicals. And so we think consumers should know that when they're buying these pitchers and decide, what kind of filtration system they want. Anyway,
by the way, this touches on something that we talked about a couple of episodes ago.
Yeah, microplastics.
We talked about microplastics, but we talked about other chemicals just in
the water,
municipal drinking water systems in general, including in Los Angeles County.
Mm-hmm.
And I went back and did a little research, and because I thought it would be important to share with people. So apparently the Department of Water and Power, the LA DWP, issues on July 1 of every year a water quality report. And it's mandated by the state to do that, as I understand it. And so the last one that they issued showed that the tap water in Los Angeles is safe. There are a couple of chemicals that are more than there are some chemicals that are greater than what is targeted, like kind of targeted levels, like arsenic. I think arsenic may be one actually that has like 3 or 4 times what should be in water for safe drinking water. But I guess the report was generally that it's safe. Anyway, this report comes out once a year, and I think it shows why people might want to buy a Brita water filter, right? Because there are all these chemicals in it and contaminants, and even if they are kind of at or below a particular level for what's arguably safe, people don't want to be exposed to it at all. And there are ways to not be exposed to it. And one way is to do like a reverse osmosis water filtration system, but they're very expensive. So people look at a cost-effective version of that water filtration system, and certain carbon-based water filters like a Brita can, or at least they're advertised to, reduce these contaminants. And so that's the reality of the situation that people are trying to respond to and solve for. Yeah.
But can I just say the Department of Water and Power, is that where you got that information from?
Yeah.
I don't think they test everything. They don't test microplastics, for example, and they test a few PFAS, but not the hundreds of PFAS that actually exist in our water system. So I'm just saying it does give you some reassurance that maybe there's not like toxic levels of lead in your water this month, and that's great, but it's not entirely comprehensive from my perspective and from a lot of consumers' perspective.
I think that's a fair point. This report does say they test 6 PFAS chemicals, but you're saying that there are hundreds or thousands of these? Yeah. So, okay, I get that. I get the apprehension because you're right. And I understand.
And that just underscores why it's important, why the filtration systems are important to consumers, like why that is meaningful. And we are relying on, whether it's a pitcher or a
water pitcher,
water pitcher or a reverse osmosis system or whatever it may be. We want to know exactly what we're getting from that filtration system. And that's how we decide how much we're going to pay for it. So
the other thing that came from my research is that while there are no kind of lead-based lines that might be sloughing off kind of lead into the municipal water system.
You use that term a lot, sloughing off.
Do I?
It's disgusting. Go ahead. Sorry.
Really? Can I get a word count on me?
It's a gross way.
Next time I say slough, we should have something where I use the word slough or some variation.
It's just like a gross way to think about
off.
Okay, go ahead.
What was I just saying?
Lead sloughing off the I don't know.
Yeah, lead slough. So there are no lead lines going directly into the municipal water system at issue, I guess, and as a part of the system.
Okay.
But what they cannot control for is whether there are any lead-based lines in any particular apartment buildings or old buildings and stuff like that. So if you live in an apartment or you live in a condo complex or something, particularly buildings that have been around for some time, then it may make sense for you to get your water tested to just make sure that, nothing's being picked up in between the DWP
water
supply
system
and what comes through your tap.
Right.
So, and I bet that DWP will test your water if you have a concern about it.
Maybe so.
Should that be another action item for us to bring back to the next one?
Why not?
Why not? Okay. People would like that.
I think so.
All right. So back to this case. Anything else on the case itself? I thought that it seemed like a closer call, and Brent Robinson argued for our team, and he did an excellent job.
Yep.
He even acknowledged that it was a bit of a closer case,
mm-hmm.
but and there was a capable advocate on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the framing was very strong from Brent. And I think there's an opportunity here for the panel to reverse, and give our client a chance to amend the complaint to add additional factual allegations, to turn the judge around.
Yeah, I think from what I could tell, I think our best bet is at a minimum remand to get leave to amend certain issues, and the issues I think we could amend on is as to whether there's a duty to disclose, right, on behalf of Brita, something that the lower court didn't even really address in the order. So the question is, does Brita have a duty to disclose to consumers that it might not pick up every contaminant, right? So I think our side did a nice job at framing that, certainly in the papers and at the hearing as well, which is, yeah, there's an unreasonable safety risk with all these contaminants. And so there's a duty to disclose. And I mean, do you think there's an unreasonable safety risk that Brita isn't disclosing to us by not telling us that these chemicals are not being filtered out? Or do you think it's fine and we can just assume that it is?
I mean, our firm represents our client, and so, out of a duty to zealously advocate for our client, of course, I'm going to take the position that there's an unreasonable safety hazard and a duty to disclose something that wasn't disclosed, of course. But I actually personally believe that as well. So
I just think it's obvious. I know that there was argument, and it was discussed as a close call, but I personally think it's an unreasonable safety risk that should be disclosed, and that Brita has that information and the consumer doesn't. So anyway, we'll see how the panel rules. But
yeah,
because this panel can decide on its own whether there was that issue, because it wasn't ruled on. It wasn't addressed in the lower order.
Well, the
court
panel
can look at it de novo. They discussed that.
The whole appeal is de novo. So as Brent Robinson said in the hearing, the court has plenary review over all issues, all aspects of issues. That's the combination of issues and aspects. Issues. Just invented a word.
Yeah.
So the court has plenary review over all issues of
on the omission claim. Yes. Anyway, not to get too deep into the weeds, but we'll see how that one turns out.
I don't know. I think we're like, snakes at this point. We are deep in the grass.
Yeah.
We've lost half of the people today for sure.
Well, some days are more weedy than others.
The producer's looking at us like, make it interesting. Make this a little more interesting.
Yeah. Crawl your way out of those weeds.
What else can we talk about? Was there anything else that we wanted to talk about?
Those were the hot topics.
You know what we haven't talked about that's happened in the last 2 weeks?
Are you going to make it dark?
No, I think I was. I want to talk about what's going on with the war, but I don't want to go there.
Yeah, that was going to be my thorn today, and then I want to end on the darkest note possible.
Kristi Noem was fired by Trump.
That's a development.
That's a development.
That's a good development.
Did you see the hearing where she was hauled in before? Who was it? It was Senator Tom Tillis, and it was Senator Kennedy of Louisiana, and they grilled her, and that was the end.
That was the nail in the coffin.
That was it.
One of the many.
They got an admission out of her that Trump approved the expenditure of $220 million on her vanity commercials, right? Her on a horse, her on the border, her, all the Ice Barbie stuff. Interesting. I don't know how we tie this to the law, though.
I don't know, but it's positive. That's a good thing. There's a way to find something positive in the news, though. Yeah, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's wrap this up with some rose butter thorn. Do you have anything?
I mean, like I said, I don't, it's really hard to think of think of our trip to Cabo as the rose of my week when the thorn is so, which is relevant to the war that we're living in now. It is so much more significantly important than my Cabo trip or than anything else really exciting that happened this week. So, while I don't want to go dark, I have to say that the thorn of the week is the war in Iran and those surrounding areas. And I don't get too political, but I'm totally against it. And I think that every day hearing about the bombs and missiles and the atrocities over there are a thorn every day that I hear about it. So I'm just hopeful that we can find some way out of this sooner than later, and that it doesn't last too long. That's the best thing I can say to.
Do you have family over there?
Yeah, I do. My dad's
Are they safe? What's going on?
My dad's sister. I have one remaining family member over there, and it's my dad's sister.
And I know that. I was giving you a softball, but to talk about it a little bit.
Yeah. No,
obviously, I know that.
Obviously, we've talked about it.
I mean, she's my wife, so
yeah. No, they're there, and her and her husband and their two grown adult sons and their wives have all moved up north to northern Iran, where they have a home, and they're just staying there, which is relatively safer than being in Tehran, of course, which is being bombed and attacked. So they are safe for now, but it's just an unimaginable thing to think about living in a country where you're actively being attacked and bombed. It's very scary, and it's so it's something that we're just hoping and praying is not going to last too long and is not going to cause all the destruction that wars tend to do. You're looking through me. What are you thinking?
No, I'm not looking through you. I'm looking intensely at you because I too am very concerned about this war, and I feel you. I'm feeling what you're feeling.
Yeah.
And I'm really concerned. I'm particularly concerned about there seemingly being no real plan that's been articulated in an intelligent way by anyone in the administration, or any of the, of the proxies that hit any of these TV shows, right? Abby Phillip and some of these others. You get those conservative folks on, and they can't come up with anything that sounds reasonably intelligent about, what's happening and why it's happening. And they're just trying their best, but it's like they just tangle themselves up in knots trying to explain it.
Because there's not even one reason, let alone a good reason, that has been articulated to go in there. I mean, there's reasons. Most of them are not believable. And so it's I just think we're in another war where it's like, why are we in this war? And there's no plan for it. Right. I mean, listen, Trump is still saying, even though there's been a new supreme leader announced in Iran, who is the son of the supreme leader that was killed. Trump is still saying, no, I'm going to put someone else in there. We're going to change that regime, but with no saying it isn't going to do it. And
and just
with no plan.
And just to be clear, you're not, some supporter of the Ayatollah or anything like that.
No, God, no.
Well, yeah, I mean, just,
No, of course not. Yeah. No, everyone, that's a horrible regime that has been torturing Iranians for decades. And everyone I know, any sane person would not want that regime in place. But getting a true revolution is not going to happen with Trump or any any outside force that's coming in for the wrong reasons. It's not going to be a revolution. It's going to be putting in. They just want to put in another leader in place that's going to help the foreign, the foreign policies of this country. And so I question the motives of Trump's administration and why they would want to.
Your point is that it's not easily done. It's not easily done,
especially with no plan.
It's not easily done. It's never worked before. Yeah, no, I totally hear you, and we weren't planning on talking about this, but obviously it's something that's probably top of mind, especially as oil's now peaked. It's surpassed $100 a barrel. That's not a good sign for the economy. I mean, we're looking at gas prices this morning in California that's above $8. So even though it's almost sick to even, you're talking about atrocities happening in a country, and to kind of like tie that to gas prices here as if these are moral equivalents. Certainly they're not, and I'm not suggesting that they are. What I'm saying is that there are all kinds of unintended consequences that happen from war that short-sighted leaders somehow, some way, always tend to not adequately consider. And this could have issues, impact on inflation. It could drive interest rates up. It could crash the economy, crash the markets. I mean, all of this has a real impact on real people. And, not to mention what it means for global geopolitical relationships, for our relationships with our allies, for our standing in the world, for the norms of the international order and international law. I mean, all of it is breaking down, it seems, and with it, I guess it adds insult to injury when there's no clear plan articulated for it. But that gets to my rose. I want to get to my rose. Because it's the exact opposite of what you just shared. And that is, my rose is, and it may seem a little counterintuitive at this point, but my rose is the system of American democracy and the fact that each and every one of us as citizens are empowered with the right to vote, to change our leadership through the ballot box and make our voices heard. If we vote in leaders who continue to disappoint us, we have no one to blame but ourselves. And we have an opportunity this November to vote elected officials in that can actually start to move the machinery, the political machinery, to reflect our desires and our will, the will of the people, and not the will of the privileged few and the powerful and an oligarchy, but the vast majority of us who I think see the world the same. And that's my rose.
Great. Good note to end on. I like that.
You like that?
Yeah.
Cool. Well, that was a really intense way to wrap up this show. But I think it was a good discussion, and I'm glad we had a chance to talk about it. I mean, listen, we can't just bury our heads in the sand.
We did over the weekend. We tried to.
Yeah. I mean, no one talked politics at all over the weekend.
Yeah.
We literally buried our heads in the beach sand,
and
figuratively. That would have been weird. Like, Ryan, what are you doing over there? Just trying to get away from social media,
the world,
and Fox News. No, I don't watch that stuff. But but we got to have an awareness of the world around us, and it's important for us to have these conversations, including the tough conversations.
Yeah.
Right. Shall I read us out?
Please do.
All right. I always do this. Represent More is a production of We Are Them Media, featuring me, Ryan Clarkson, and my co-host, Shireen Clarkson. Represent More is produced and edited by Marketing for Justice and Q Michelli and recorded live at our studio in Malibu, California. Be sure to subscribe to Represent More wherever you get your podcasts and find us on Substack at representmore.substack.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.